Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Rian Immigrant Center and J1 Visa information session. It's great to see so many of us join us today. I know there's been a lot of interest in this session and a lot of students have registered. I want to start by just introducing myself. My name is Rory McGrillen, and I work in Queen's Global Opportunities team. So within the team, we promote opportunities for students to study and work abroad during and after their time at university. I am kindly joined today by Mr. Jude Clark from the Rian Immigrant Center, and I want to start by saying thank you very much to Jude for joining us. As I say, this is always a very popular session, and I suppose part of that is down to the way Jude delivers it. So Jude, thank you very much for coming along today, and I'll hand the session over to yourself.
Thank you very much, Rory. Hello, everybody. It's great to have you all here today. Hopefully, I'll be able to help you, give you some very useful information. Obviously, you've registered, you're interested in the visa to the United States. So just to introduce myself, Jude Clark. I work at the Rian Immigrant Center in Boston, focusing on our Rian J1 visa program. Our center in Boston was formed 33 years ago now by Irish immigrants. It was really set up to help Irish immigrants in the Boston area with legal matters and citizenship and so on. But over the years, we've moved into visa programs and things like that, and we're happy to be able to deliver this program for Irish students and graduates from universities on the island of Ireland. So I live in County Antrim. I'm talking to you here from Glenavy, just up the road from some of these might actually be very close. So I basically staff our Irish office, and delighted to represent our centre on the island of Ireland here. I'm a Queen's University graduate myself, folks, so my heart is in this with you. I always give my best to try and make sure that we help you as much as we can, obviously, with the visa program. So just to know a little bit about myself, if you can imagine, anybody is just sports crazy. Plays pretty much every sport they can get their hand on, watches sports. That's me, that type of person, mad about sports. So today, like I said, I'm here, and the purpose of this presentation is to let you know about the J1 graduate visa program. So anybody has any questions, you can log them into the chat there if you can, or we can open up for a few minutes at the end for any questions at the end, so you can handle it whatever way you want there. All right, so how was this work done pre-COVID? Well, this is me in the Student Guidance Centre there in Queen's University on Elmwood Avenue with a bunch of Queen's students. This photo was taken just about 2 years ago, March, I think it was, just before COVID hit. So I would go into Queen's and do the presentations about the visa, just like we're doing now on Zoom at this time. So, and then that quickly shifted to COVID hitting, of course. And I'll briefly just update you on what happened there. So really COVID hit mid-March and the travel ban was implemented. The visa ban was implemented. It was just a bit of a disaster, really, but it was a disaster for all walks of life and for everybody and all around the world. So we were no different. We had no new J1s from 13th of March 2020 until January this year. The US consulate in Belfast and the US embassy in Dublin had both closed for visa appointments throughout that time. So it was as bad as it could possibly get for us as a centre running a visa program, and for people who were graduates in those years who missed out on the visa, basically. So what are the options here? What have I got to talk to you about really today? Well, it's two visa options. The first one is the J1 Irish Work and Travel Visa, which both the visas actually allow you to live and work in the United States. But the slight difference is with the J1 Work and Travel Visa, you can travel to the United States without work lined up. That's a huge advantage, because it takes away the pressure of having to find work ahead of traveling, which can be difficult, of course. And whenever you get to the United States, you would have a 120-day opportunity to find work. So that's 4 months. You would really be hoping to have something at that point. You'd be running out of money anyway. The other visa, the J1 Intern Visa, is for anyone who does not have an Irish passport and is studying at a university north or south. So UK passport basically brings you in on the J1 intern visa. The only difference with that is, like I said, you would have to have work preset. So people with student placements, for example, with work preset, that visa is perfect. But if you're a graduate, you would need to have your work lined up. So there are the two visa options. And where can you go in the United States? Well, you can go anywhere you like. I mean, I've just put up here San Francisco and New York as two very popular destinations for people coming on our visa program. You can also go to Hawaii if you wish to spend a year living and working in Hawaii. If I was given this opportunity, I probably would be thinking of that route myself. But really, you can go anywhere. It's such a huge country. So what have we got to offer this year in the 2022 visa program? Well, really, the good news is this visa is back up and running, fully operational. We're accepting applications, processing applications, and we're nearly daily at the moment. We're bringing people to the United States. We're still in the early days of our rebuild, so we're still bringing in more applications and processing them. But by the time we get to June or July, there's going to be quite a few arriving in the United States on our visa program. So travel rules are changing quickly, so you just have to be aware of that if you're considering applying. Being fully vaccinated as well, that's a must. Okay, to get to the United States, you must be fully vaccinated. I was in the States there last month, about 4 weeks ago, and I had to provide a negative test, done from the Randolph Center up at the international airport there. It had to be done within 24 hours of the flight, so just keep that in mind. And Bethany's asking, is fully vaccinated 2 doses or 2 doses plus the booster? Do you know? Really, it changes. Like I said, by the time you would go to travel, it could be an additional booster, it could be a second booster. So it'll be 2 doses plus the booster. But like I said, that could change, Bethany. So just my advice is to keep your eye on that as you go through the application process. And especially whenever you book your flights, you'll be getting emails from the likes of Aer Lingus or whatever, prompting you to check these things. So just keep your eye on that. And Tiernan is asking, is the 120 days included in your 14 months, or does that start when you get the job? So the visa program, the visa is 1 year. You have 1 year to work on the visa program, 365 days. You've got 30 days before your visa start date and 30 days after your visa end date, where you can have like a holiday either end, or in the first 30 days maybe setting up your apartment or whatever it is you're doing. So yes, the 120 days starts on your visa start date. I'll give you an example. If you apply and you set your visa start date as the 1st of July this year, then you can arrive in the United States any date from the 1st of June. Your 120 days for your job search starts on the 1st of July. Okay, so if you make use of your 30 days of your grace period, you can actually have 150 days if you see what I'm saying. So with the July 1st start date, you would have to have work July, August, September, by the end of October. If you haven't got work by the end of October, you're going to be in financial difficulties and stressed out anyway. But on average, it takes 6 weeks usually to find work. So that's why we encourage people to get there as early as possible in their grace period, so that you can maximize the length of time you actually are working on your visa. Okay, so keep the questions coming in there. Thanks, Bethany and Tiernan, for that. I'll keep glancing over there as I work through this. So back to our 2022 program. I know at the airports at the minute there are actually delays going through airports. So if you are traveling, then you need to factor in a 3 or 4 hour delay going through security, and that's purely because some staff are off with COVID and it's making the lines longer and stuff like that. I actually saw it in the news this morning. Manchester Airport, serious problems. So you keep your eye on all that sort of stuff. The other thing is mail from the United States taking quite long. Taking about 5 weeks actually to get from Boston to here. So anyway, once you apply, we can keep you advised on those sorts of issues. So I just like throwing this picture into my presentations. It's actually a group of Queen's and Ulster University students who used to be fond of going hiking up in New England, up in the mountains. It's just one thing that they used to do on weekends as a group of J1s. So it's not all about work. It's also about, you know, getting out there, seeing the United States and having as much fun as possible. So this year, it's all about preparation. You have to be prepared if you want to go on to a visa program to the United States, especially if you're traveling on the option without work lined up. So what does the preparation mean, or what do we expect now? This is a new thing we've built into our program in 2022, and it's designed to make sure that you hit the ground running whenever you get to the United States, as opposed to what used to happen was we would just accept your application. You would arrive in the United States, you'd be in New York or something, and it would be like, whoa, what do I do now in terms of, you know, the job search? So we are trying our best to help you with that. And I'll walk through here for 1 minute here, just in terms of what we mean by that. So we're asking you to build a spreadsheet of 50 employers in your area of study. So say, for example, you're a marketing graduate. So you're going to research marketing organizations, New York. Simple as that. I mean, you'll get lists, you'll Google that and you'll get lists, and you just research them, put them into a spreadsheet with the employer name, contact details, you know, is it music marketing, sports marketing, whatever specific end of marketing it is or whatever. And, you know, you'll populate your spreadsheet, and eventually after you do your research, you'll start reaching out to these guys closer to the time of going to America, and it's all designed to find work, obviously. Networking as well is an important thing. We ask for 10 networking options, so it could be simple things like Irish Network Boston, the Irish Consulate, the British Consulate in Boston, whatever city you're going to. It's just Googling these things and getting the contact details and then reaching out to them. It's about building your networks. So there's an example there, Google Marketing Networking Group Boston. You'd be surprised all the options that would pop up. So it's as easy as that, it really is. Pardon me. The other thing is converting your CV, which may be up to 3 pages long at the moment, into a US style resume, which is 1 page. We will help you with that. And we will also help you with our LinkedIn startup guide. These are all things once you get to America, these things will all be in place. And like I said, you'll hit the ground running in terms of finding work and connecting with employers. We advise that you reach out to employers no earlier than 2 months before your travel. 2 months is fine. Anything earlier than that, you're not even going to have your visa in place. Yeah, and basically you got to be prepared to put in the preparation, a little bit of effort. We don't accept applications where there's obviously zero effort put into this piece, because it's there to help yourself. All passports must run for at least 6 months after the visa end date. So that example there I gave of the 1st of July this year visa start date, the visa end date there would be the 30th of June next year. So the passport needs to run to the end of December 2023. If not, you need to look at getting your passport renewed. Okay, this is another photo I like to include in my presentations. We've already seen this quite a few times. Is basically one of the events that we would organize in the Boston area is just basketball games with the local universities there. We would invite anyone that's in Boston along to these games. I'm not saying this from the point of view of, hey, look at us, we'll give you free tickets to games. It's more about the community, you know, like if you come to Boston, you'd be invited to things because you get to meet not only people in our work, but other J1s and so on. And also it's about the cultural side to your visa. It's not all about just going to America and working for 12 months. It's about soaking up the US culture and trying to do as much as you can, you know, with sports and museums and, you know, history and all sorts of stuff. There's actually a couple of Queen's students in this. The girl in the blue top closest to the teddy bear thing or whatever you call it, the mascot, was a Queen's student, is now graduated. And the girl in the front left there is also a Queen's student at the time, graduated now. So Yeah, so we promote that as much as possible. Now I'm just going to jump back to this photo. If you see the girl there right in front of me in the black and white, this next slide is actually about her, and it's about the networking thing again and how this worked for Shauna. Shauna went to Boston and she had a biomedical engineering degree, and she sort of set about connecting with people by joining this networking group called Women Accelerators in Boston. So it was all about biomedical science and empowering women in business and science. So she basically registered for that group, and she went along to one of their events and volunteered. I think it was like inviting, when people were coming in, ticking their name off or whatever it was. And straight out of that, she got a great lab job in a top Boston scientific research center, which paid really, really good money. And that's why I keep showing this slide as a guide to sort of make you think that connecting with these networking groups really pays off in the United States. It's not just about the way it is at home in Ireland and the UK, where you'll only go for an employer if there's a job advertised. In America, it's a different culture. You make your own luck, you connect with the employers, you just meet people, and you'll get offered a job if the employer likes you, if you set a good impression. And that's obviously what Shauna did, and it paid off big time for her. This is another example of what we expect you to be doing. This is the New York, New Belfast event in Manhattan, New York City. And if you zoom that in and look really closely behind the table, there's actually a Queen's University pop-up banner in the background there. So this type of event is fantastic for anybody coming from Queen's. I would be advising you to be signing up, registering for these types of things. You just have to Google, if you're going to New York, like any events that are happening, and register for them, and then turn up. And in that room at that event, there would have been like 200 or 300, possibly like Irish, American, business people and so on. The Irish consulate, the British consulate would have been there. Lots of connections for you. So I recommend you go to things like this. We always take the unemployed J1s to this, and they always find, we always come out of this with 5 or 6 finding jobs. Okay, great. Other networking tips is effort, put it in, research as much as you can, register for those groups. Does Queen's University have an alumni group in the city that you're going to, like Chicago, New York, San Francisco? Check that out, because if they do, chances are they're going to be having an event in June or July or August or whenever you're going. You should register for that event. Sometimes, like in Boston, I would go to the events like at the alumni events, maybe just a simple pub quiz or something like that, but it's an opportunity to get into a room with other Queen's alumni who are successful, business people in New York or wherever, or Chicago, and it's in those rooms and those conversations that you create sow the seed that's going to lead you to getting a good paid job in your area of study. Other things are have business cards ready, have your resume ready, simple things like play a sport, take a class, meet as many people as possible. I always suggest you tidy up your social media. I know that going through university, it's a bit of fun a lot of the time in social media, whatever you're on, but you'd be surprised that employers do zone in on that type of thing just to see the type of person that you are if you're applying for a job, and it can sometimes make or break a hiring decision. So what will we do to help you? You've did a lot of work there. You're thinking there, oh, we're doing all the work here. What does Rian do? Well, Rian obviously helps you and advises you along with that research and outreach and so on. But we'll also directly help you with, providing links to employers in our database. So we've had many employers have hired many J1s over the years. So we will connect you with those employers, besides all the other things I've discussed with you there. But what we will look at is, which city in the United States are you going to? What date is your visa going to start? And what is your area of study? And we'll try and join the dots and see if there's anything there for you. This morning, actually it came in yesterday, but I only opened it this morning. This email I got from a law firm in New York City. We'd connected, I think it was either Queen's or Ulster now, I'm not sure, but it was definitely one of the Belfast universities to this lawyer in New York, and it hasn't worked out for whatever reason, and that employer is looking us to provide them with another J1 to fill that role. It's a paralegal role in New York City, paying good money. If we get word like that, we just go through our records and see which J1s are applying that are going to New York with a law degree, and we simply connect them with the employer, and it's up to them then to pass the interview or whatever it is. So that's the type of thing we do, and we can help you with. This is a picture of Megan. Megan's another Queen's University graduate, and I just put this in to show you that we helped Megan, and she's an example of someone we helped get her job. She studied HR at Queen's University, and we connected her with Arbella Insurance, which is one of the largest insurance companies in the world. They're based in Boston, and Megan worked there for a year in their HR department. As you can see, a desk type job, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, is the type of role that you'd be seeking. Megan had a fantastic time. Just another example of a great visa experience, and that work experience then sits at the top of her resume as she returned home to build her career in Belfast or wherever she went. So the visa cost, how much is it going to? Everything's got a cost. So the visa fee, R1 is $1150 US, which works out about £800 at the current exchange rate, I would say. And then you have a SEVIS fee, which is a US government database. Really, anyone that's going on a visa program has to sign up for SEVIS. You register for that database, and the fee's $220. US consulate fee for people in the north is $160, and then you have insurance and flights. So it all adds. It's not a lot of money really when you give what you're going to, when you see what you're going to get out of it. You know, a great piece of work experience. Entry level jobs in America also pay higher than what you'd be expecting in Belfast or Dublin. I can say that generally speaking, based on my experience and what we see coming in. The minimum that any conversation we're having with an employer, the minimum is $15 to $20. So you'll see quite a lot in around the $20 an hour would be kind of the norm, really. So if in doubt, I mentioned earlier San Francisco. I'll pause there. I think Rory, you might have a question for me, Rory, at this point.
Yeah, Jude. Just on the previous slide, throughout the year, I would receive emails from students to say, you know, can I do the visa processing myself? Can I avoid these costs, or can I just do all the paperwork myself?
It's impossible. That's the answer to that question, Rory. It's impossible to get a visa without a visa sponsor. Yeah. The US government, who owns the visas, they farm out or outsource, whatever way you want to term it, the sponsorship management of their visa programs to companies like ourselves. You've heard obviously of Use It and so on, operating out of Ireland, but there's hundreds of visa sponsors around the world. But basically what the visa sponsor's responsibility is that we manage all of this, and there's so many aspects to running a visa from start to finish, not only just processing and getting you through the embassy or the consulate, but managing issues that happen then in the United States and the employment side of it and all that. The visa sponsor has to manage all of that, and obviously there has to be a fee then for the cost of that. So no, it can't be done on your own.
No, I just wanted you to share that, because it's obviously very different from applying for a work visa in Spain or France or, you know, Europe, where a lot of students would apply for. So that's great. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Rory. Okay, so yeah, I'd moved on slightly from that slide then. I'd mentioned earlier about, you can go anywhere in the United States. I mentioned San Francisco, Chicago, New York quite a bit. But our office is based in Boston, so I recommend anybody who is undecided about where you might want to go, you're not really sure, I would be saying go to Boston. Really, it's a fantastic city. I lived there for 5 years and loved every minute of it. And the great thing is that we are there, our office is there. So if you need any kind of support in any way, if something goes wrong, or you come along to our networking events or whatever, we are like the basketball game, for example, we organize little bits and pieces like that. But also a major thing is we know so many employers in Boston face to face. You know, we can actually introduce a lot of you, depending on your area of study. We can introduce you to employers like we did with Megan, for example. Arbella is actually a sponsor of ours. If you go into our office, there's actually a room named after the Arbella organization. So that was the connection that got Megan her role there at the HR role. That's the type of thing that we can do to help you. If you obviously if you come to Boston, it's a lot easier for us to do that for you. Also, it's great summers and great winters if you like skiing, or terrible winters if you don't like skiing in that sense. A lot of snow in the winter, but great summers. So I would recommend Boston to anyone who isn't sure where they want to go. Okay, so I've kind of flew through everything there. I'm conscious I don't like to ramble on too much about the finer detail of it. If you're really interested in the visa program, you've already probably flicked the switch in your head that you're going to be applying. So I don't want to go on too much about the finer detail. But we're here for any further inquiries. There's our website there on that slide. You can click onto that and see lots of information about the visa program and to register your interest. And the email address is there as well for any inquiries that you might have. Any question at all, ping us an email and we can help you. That mobile number there is actually my direct mobile. I can't find it here now, but it's my direct number here in Belfast. So it's a local number. You can just give me a buzz there if you have any questions or anything. Rory, you've popped up again. Have you another question?
Yeah, I'm just adding that website link to the chat, but also Tiernan has asked it's a question that often arises. It says, what are the chances of extending the visa if the company want to keep you?
That's a good question, Tiernan. So the chances are good, but some things have to fall into place. One is you have to be good at your job. And the employer has to like you. So you have to really lay down a good impression when you're doing your work. That's your starting point. Another very important point there is your dates. You need to be arriving, the visa you would transfer to in that scenario is a H-1B. And H-1B visas have set start dates. They're the 1st of October. So therefore, for your visa year to run its course, and to be working, you need to be starting your visa around September. Okay, the applications for H-1Bs go in April, get in now actually this week. So you need to be working from like October to April to be impressing in those 6 months to get your application in and then start your new visa in October. So yeah, it can happen.
Okay, thank you, Jude. There's another question, and it's from Bethany, who asks, for graduate jobs, would you have to start in July this year if I graduate in July, or are there roles throughout the year? For example, if I wanted to go in spring 2023 instead.
Yeah, another good question, Bethany. Thanks. It's so if you graduate on the 1st of July, say, or whatever, you've got 1 year from that date in order to start the visa. Okay, so you have 1 year to be in the United States and start the visa. So yes, you could start your visa next spring. However, if you're if you're a master's graduate, we recommend not waiting at all. We recommend you travel immediately after you graduate with your master's. And the reason for that is because you don't want to have too much work experience when you're applying for the visa at the embassy or consulate, because that can work against you.
Very good. I'll just leave it a minute there to see if there's any more questions that come through, Jude. Yeah. But I suppose whilst I get the opportunity, I just want to touch on some of the points you mentioned. So there's quite a few students in the photographs that I recognise, and it's great to always see them. But I suppose the important thing to share with people joining us today is that I've spoken to many of them students, and they've said how wonderful of experience it's been, how much they've enjoyed their jobs, but notably how much support that they've received from yourself and also the centre. Another point that I want to raise is you mentioned about the cost. So obviously the cost is unavoidable. However, the Rian Center, the cost is the lowest that we have come across. So competitors and private organisations do charge fees, but they are higher than what you offer yourselves or charge. I suppose the reason that we keep inviting yourself and the centre back to deliver these presentations is that, not only the costs, not only the feedback from the students, but the relationship you have with Queen's. You obviously go over and above and beyond what is required for a J1 visa sponsor, and you always take that sort of personal interest, whether it's an undergraduate or a graduating student come from Queen's. It's obviously a close connection being from Northern Ireland, obviously realizing the challenges of moving and living working in a different country, but also your personal connection being an alumni from the university. So we really do appreciate the advice and the support you provide the students.
Thanks, Rory. Thank you very much. And it's always a pleasure to do these presentations, and getting back into Queen's, into the Student Guidance Centre would be something I'd be looking forward to doing. But in the meantime, I'm happy to do these types of presentations. And I'm open for communications there from anybody at any time there, the phone number, the email, or whatever. Sometimes you find in these presentations, some people have questions afterwards, you can follow up. It's not a problem.
Okay, there's another question, and just give me a second to go through it.
Is it Finola?
Yeah. Graduated from Business Masters in July 2021. What would you advise in that situation?
July 2021, right? My advice there is, if you're serious, you want to get a visa, then you need to apply immediately right now. It's the 8th of April. It takes time to process an application. At the minute, it's about 6 to 8 weeks. So, Finola, if you want to go to the United States, I would be recommending you apply now. Well, wait, you're applying for the USNI program, which would start in January 2023. So would you only be going on the graduate visa then for 6 months? Till next year?
I suppose the USNI hasn't currently opened for applications since COVID sort of hit. So it's one to be re-announced, but I think...
So you're only considering applying for that? Yeah. Well, I mean, I would recommend that you do the graduate visa while you've got the opportunity to do it, because you might not get on to the USNI program. And even if you did, if they're only opening applications, then it might be later in the year until it would start. So obviously it's your call, but if you're considering applying, you should do so now. Again, a business master's, I know I mentioned there about we want master's graduates to apply as soon as possible. But I mean, this particular year, since you graduated last year, Finola, I mean, travel was shut down up until the end of the year anyway. So it's slightly different for you than it would be a master's graduating this year. We would be expecting them to travel really quickly, but for you would have a good explanation of why you've held off. And with a business degree, you're open to lots of areas of business in terms of your job search. So it's a good opportunity for you.
Okay. So suppose what we see in the questions and the J1 visa process, Jude, is that there are different complexities, and students need to do a bit of research, do the reading, and then sort of reach out to yourselves for advice and guidance.
Yeah, everybody's got their own set of personal circumstances, Rory. So, I mean, like it could be the area of study. Now, we accept most areas of study, but there are some that aren't accepted. For example, primary school education, teaching, coaching, nursing. There's 7 or 8 areas like that we can't accept. But so everybody's circumstances are different. Everybody's got a different graduation date or whatever. Want to travel in different months. So yeah, reach out to me is probably the best way to handle that, and I can give you a direct answer by email or whatever. Hopefully I answered your question earlier there, Finola. Thanks.
Great. I was just like I said, thank you very much. Excellent. Yeah. So Jude, I'll give another minute just to see if students have any more questions, if they're frantically typing away there. But whilst I'm waiting there, students will obviously be looking at advice on interviews, CVs, applications, stuff like that there. So I'm going to post a link to our My Future system. And if students want to set up an appointment with a careers consultant from Queen's, they can set up a 15-minute CV check, or else they can set up a 30-minute sort of meeting for a longer conversation, just in regards to sort of how they prepare to make an application, how they prepare for interviews, and what questions and research they need to sort of anticipate and do themselves. And I would encourage students, if they are sort of anxious about applications or interviews, then certainly make that appointment. We have another question. So I'm the same. I graduated in computer science in July 21, currently working full-time, and will have a year experience by September. Was planning going then. Is that too late?
Yes, it is too late. Your deadline, Tiernan, is July this year, because you've got that 1 year window. So if you are serious about this visa program, then you would need to put your application in now, basically, so that we can get it done by the end of June, which is only 7 weeks away. And then you'd be looking to travel no later than the anniversary of your graduation. The key date, by the way, folks, is the date that's on your scroll, the date that's written on your scroll. That's your deadline, 1 year past that date. So, Tiernan, pardon me, if you want to apply, you should go ahead and do so now. It just means you might have to clip the end off that piece of work experience that you're doing there up until September. Bethany has asked, I'm an undergraduate studying or graduating in July. When should I apply? Well, if you're graduating this July, Bethany, well, then you've plenty of time. You've got up until July of 2023 to start the visa program. If you're a master's graduate, I would be leaning towards applying early. But if you're just coming out undergrad, then I would say, yeah, you've already stated there you're on undergrad, sorry. So yeah, you've got a year. I'm not a fan of leaving it to the last minute, the absolute last minute, Rory. I'm not really a fan of that because other things can happen. You can get into a scenario where you get into a job in Belfast or Dublin or something, and then the decision becomes harder because, you have to pack a job in to take the visa and so on. And if it were me, and I would always be thinking, once I get the graduation out of the way, then start the visa application, but it's up to yourself. Tiernan, is there any opportunities outside of graduate visas? There is another visa called the J1 trainee visa, which is more about work experience. So say, for example, in your circumstances, Tiernan, if you get to September and you're no longer eligible for our visa, then you may become eligible for the J1 trainee visa. I think the requirement is that you have at least 2 years work experience, maybe 3. But you would become eligible for that at some point. We do not sponsor that visa, but if you Google the Ireland Institute of Pittsburgh, they sponsor that visa, the Ireland Institute of Pittsburgh. Okay, Kristen has asked, where do I start on the application process? That's a great question, Kristen. The link there to our website, click on it, and there's a button, register here. So click on it and you fill out the registration form.
Let me see if I can post that now, dude, just so everyone can copy and paste it in.
Yeah, so it's
that's
it. If you click on that website link, then on the first page, there's register here. You just click on that and fill out the form.
Good stuff. No, let's say your contact information is on there. Students can reach out to you or through the organization. Similarly, they can reach out to the Global Opportunities team if they have any further questions as well. But I suppose we'll wrap the session up now, and I'll finish by saying thank you very much from myself, and Queens. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Rory, and thanks everybody for attending. It's been great to speak to you and answer your questions, and I look forward to hearing from some of you in the very near future. Thanks, Rory.
Good to see you. Thanks very much, Jude. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.